I'm Jameis Newell.
And I'm Wendy Ryan. Thanks for joining us. Hulk Hogan finally getting his chance to tell his side of the story in a sex tape scandal.
The wrestling superstar speaking in court about an emotional breakdown when that tape was recorded. He's now suing the website Gawker for sharing that video with the world.
I was depressed. You know, I was just, it was like a low point in my life that when Bubba says, hey man, come over to the house, you know, let's talk. You know, I was just so desperate.
In a groundbreaking revelation that has left the wrestling world in complete shock, Hulk Hogan, at 79 years old, has stepped forward to share secrets about one of wrestling's most enigmatic and controversial figures, Vince McMahon. Over the decades, both Hogan and McMahon have been colossal pillars of professional wrestling, building it into the spectacle that millions worldwide tune in to see. Their stories are deeply intertwined, and their histories marked by controversies, triumphs, betrayals, and business-savvy moves that transformed the industry. But what was left unsaid between these two legends? What has Hogan, known for his powerful presence and unmatched wrestling career, held back for decades? Now he's ready to talk. The man, the myth, the legend himself is giving his audience a view into Vince McMahon's empire from a perspective only someone like Hulk Hogan could provide. Imagine, if you will, Hulk Hogan in his prime, muscles flexed, larger-than-life charisma captivating millions. It's the Hulk Hogan who fought tooth and nail to become the icon he is today. Today, though, his story takes a twist no one saw coming. Hogan, reflective and candid, is sharing his experiences and revelations about Vince McMahon's behind-the-scenes world. And it's a side of the story the public has never been allowed to see.
It's next door neighbor to a dive, and that is the last fucking thing we want in mixed martial arts is fixed fights. Right. Which is weird because it's owned by the same people that own WWE now.
Right.
Which is kind of crazy.
They've had a good week. Yeah, it's a good week to be in the WWE.
Yo, dude, that Vince McMahon is wild. That boy's out there.
I couldn't get through the text messages. I started trying to read them, and I was like, I don't want to read. This is like poison.
But the thing is, when I see that dude with his shirt off, he's 80 years old, he's got a chain around his neck. What, are you shocking me with this information?
Yeah.
Don't you think it takes a lot to get that guy going?
No, you're saying he needed to send all those text messages to get aroused at that age?
I think he probably needs a lot just for stimulation. Listen, he's a billionaire.
Right.
He's been running pro wrestling for fucking decades. He's world famous CEO of this giant fucking multinational company, pro wrestling company. He's also in pro wrestling.
Right.
He gets out there and competes. He does it.
Yeah, I guess.
Or, performs, I should say.
At a certain point, I guess, if you're that through the looking glass of reality, you become a heel in life. Life is heel and everything is a match.
Yeah, if you're going to be really successful at putting together pro wrestling, probably be pro wrestling all day long.
You got to stick with it.
Yeah.
As Hogan opens up, he sheds light on his friendship, clashes, and the inner workings of the wrestling industry under McMahon's reign. He unearths a world filled with shadows, power plays, and astonishing secrets. The wait is over. Hogan's revelations promise to reshape the narrative of professional wrestling forever. Hogan's reflections on Vince McMahon's career and influence dive further into the murky waters of professional wrestling, where ambition and power often clash with loyalty and trust. Throughout his narrative, Hogan underscores that McMahon's drive was both his greatest asset and, perhaps, his most dangerous weapon. He recounts early days in the wrestling world when McMahon was an unproven leader, stepping into the shadow of his father's legacy. Yet, unlike others, Vince had a radical vision to move beyond the small, fragmented territories that had defined wrestling for decades and establish a consolidated, national platform. Many questioned his methods, seeing his bold moves as ruthless rather than innovative, but McMahon pressed on, willing to sacrifice convention and, at times, personal relationships. One story Hogan shares highlights McMahon's relentless nature. During the wrestling wars of the 1980s and 1990s, particularly with WCW and ECW as formidable rivals, McMahon's strategies were aggressive and unapologetic. Hogan recounts how Vince would meticulously analyze competitors, learning their vulnerabilities and devising ways to outmaneuver them. Hogan recalls closed-door meetings where McMahon would discuss rival promotions with an almost tactical intensity. He was like a general plotting a battle. Vince didn't just want to compete, he wanted to dominate. McMahon's unwavering focus on expansion also led to controversial business practices that many critics still question today. According to Hogan, the introduction of non-disclosure agreements and ironclad contracts became McMahon's tools to control talent, keeping many wrestlers tied to WWE under terms.
TKO Group, you know who they just brought to be a board member of WWE?
Who?
Who is who? Who is the most beloved guy
White?
who's got a crystal clear.
Rock?
Yeah, he's got a clean cut guy you bring in. The Rock is officially a member of the board of directors of the TKO. They have to do this. It's a great move.
Yeah.
And The Rock is the right guy to come in to do something like this because they need somebody that's stable. They need somebody that's reliable. They need somebody for this space that's dependable. And apparently there was a major event this last week for wrestling with him against the other guy. What's the guy's name?
Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns. Yeah, apparently they called it like one of the biggest events of all time. Did you follow it or no?
Yeah. So dorky. Sorry.
Well, we know. Go ahead. I want to hear
follow
that.
some of this stuff. Yes, they brought The Rock back as a surprise on Friday night, and he's going to now face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. The big thing in the wrestling community is that there was a guy who won the...
With Vince McMahon, dude, I'll ask, does anybody know, like people that know, like what he did?
Right.
Or what it's claimed that he did? It only came out because he didn't want to pay her the full money. If he were paid $3 million to do all horrific things and you're like, yeah, I'll do that, then I'd be like, well, that's not assault. But this fucker didn't want to pay because he has a history of fucking people on shit. And all he had to do was pay what he agreed to, and she's a disgruntled employee, and good for her because that guy shit on her head. They're having a they don't say what position, I don't think. I hope it's Eiffel Tower and not a blowjob he did this during. 2-on-1 with, I'm guessing, Johnny Leonidas. I don't know. Another executive. So they're both having sex with this girl. Vince McMahon gets up, shits on her head, and then he goes, I'm going to go get, you guys finish up. I'm going to get a shower. This is what's written in the legal. They say he defecates. Okay? Yeah, we'll finish up, Vince. I think
Hogan recalls how McMahon would negotiate with an intimidating air, presenting deals that were difficult to decline but came with restrictive clauses. He could make you feel like you were getting the deal of a lifetime, but once you signed, you realized you were in Vince's world and the only rules were his. Hogan reflects that, for many wrestlers, this was a double-edged sword. They owed their fame and fortune to WWE, yet they often felt confined by McMahon's rules and expectations. A reality that would later lead some to break away or retire under strained circumstances. Outside the ring, Hogan's stories depict McMahon as a figure who wasn't content with mere business success. From the outset, Vince pursued visibility and influence, often rubbing shoulders with political figures, high-profile executives, and celebrities. He aspired to position WWE not just as a wrestling company, but as a cornerstone of mainstream entertainment. McMahon's high-stakes ventures and television deals contributed to his reputation as an industry titan, but his involvement in high-profile feuds, both scripted and real, occasionally backfired, inviting legal scrutiny and public criticism. Hogan mentions incidents where McMahon's business decisions, such as WWE's controversial storylines, or dealings with unsavory promoters, sparked public outcry. It was almost like Vince thrived on controversy, Hogan adds. If people were talking, he knew he was winning. But sometimes that mindset came at a cost. As the years passed, whispers of alleged misconduct and backstage tensions became harder to ignore. Hogan describes a particular incident when rumors of wrestler mistreatment surfaced, casting a long shadow over WWE's reputation. Though McMahon often sidestepped these allegations, dismissing them as part of the price of fame, Hogan sensed the toll of running a global empire. In private moments, you could see it the strain. Running WWE took everything out of him, even if he'd never admit it. Hogan's account reveals a rare glimpse into McMahon's vulnerability. Toward the end of his narrative, Hogan turns reflective, pondering McMahon's legacy and the complex persona that has captivated millions yet remains enigmatic. For every wrestler whose career Vince catapulted, there are others who feel they paid a heavy price for their loyalty. Despite controversies, McMahon's presence is irreplaceable. Love him or hate him, he changed everything, Hogan says. The wrestling world wouldn't be what it is today without him, but his path to power is a cautionary tale. Hogan concludes with ambivalence, acknowledging McMahon's genius while raising questions of morality, ethics, and the true cost of success in a world driven by spectacle. However, Hulk Hogan's own career was far from free of controversy. Known as one of the most iconic figures in wrestling, Hogan's legacy is filled with triumphs and challenges, moments that elevated him to superstardom and incidents that threatened to cast a shadow over his achievements. Hogan is unflinchingly honest about his struggles and mistakes. He opens up about the pressures of living up to the persona of Hulk Hogan, an image of strength, loyalty, and resilience that came with endless demands of fame. The expectation to maintain his character sometimes led to regret and exhaustion.
WWE. On top of today's news is a recent lawsuit filed against Vince McMahon. However, this lawsuit is also naming Vince's wife Linda, along with the WWE's parent company TKO Holdings, which own WWE. Now please note that this story contains disturbing information and it may trigger survivors of abuse, so you may want to skip to our third story. But let's look at the allegations and the response from Vince's attorney. USA Today is reporting that the 5 former WWE ring boys are suing Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, and WWE, alleging negligence for allowing systematic and pervasive abuse of underage children. The complaint and demand for a jury trial was filed on behalf of 5 John Does in Baltimore County Circuit Court on Wednesday.
He admits that trying to be both Hulk Hogan, the superhero, and Terry Bollea, the man, was challenging. When you're Hulk Hogan, brother, everyone expects you to be invincible. They expect you to be a hero, no matter what, but the truth is, we're all human, he shares. This rare glimpse into Hogan's vulnerabilities reveals a side that few have seen, showing the toll fame and expectations can take on even the most resilient individuals. Hogan was idolized by millions, yet his journey was marked by challenges that few fans ever saw. He discusses the struggle to remain grounded amid the whirlwind of the wrestling industry, where constant travel, grueling schedules, and physical pain became daily realities. People see the shows, the glamour, but behind the scenes, it's a tough business, he reflects. The sacrifices he made for the sport, the friends he lost, and the personal life he had to set aside are openly acknowledged, offering fans new perspectives on wrestling fame. Hogan's controversies ranged from professional feuds to personal battles that played out in the public eye, each presenting new challenges to his public image and personal life. These controversies, Hogan explains, were lessons painful but necessary steps in his journey. I've made mistakes and I'm not proud of all of them, but I've learned from each one. Reflecting on feuds and personal issues that became public, Hogan's candid approach reveals a man who has come to terms with his past and the choices he made. His words are filled with acceptance and humility, acknowledging the lessons learned and growth from facing challenges head-on, even in the face of fame's demands. The path to becoming a legend wasn't smooth, and Hogan discusses the price of fame. He talks about how his actions sometimes impacted friendships, business deals, and his standing. Wrestling has a way of taking everything you have and then some, Hogan admits. It's more than a job, it's a lifestyle, and sometimes it can feel like it's all-consuming. He reflects on his regrets over allowing the pressures of the business to affect his relationships, highlighting how these experiences.
One example of McMahon's extreme depravity. May 9, 2020, he defecated on Miss Grant during a threesome and then commanded her to continue pleasuring his friend with feces in her hair running down her back while McMahon went to the bathroom.
Wait, I didn't see this part. Wait, I didn't see this part. Upon his return from the bathroom, McMahon and his friend actively resumed the three. She didn't get in and hose off? You showered and went back and started. The girl whose head and back you shit on.
Whoa.
Why get a shower?
Oh my God, so she didn't shower?
He got showered and she stayed.
Oh my God.
With Bob Saget's closer on her head.
I also like how they just described it as his filth. His filth. I mean, is this like a legal document? Is that a legal term, like his filth?
He gave her a Polish car wash and he goes and cleans himself.
What the fuck, man?
Forced him to confront his strengths and flaws. In sharing these intimate details, Hogan offers fans a deeper understanding of the man behind the legend, showing that the path to success is rarely straightforward. His account is one of resilience and redemption, a reminder that even the most celebrated figures face struggles that shape who they are. For Hogan, these controversies are not something to be hidden, but rather lessons to be shared, experiences that have made him who he is today. His journey underscores a universal truth that mistakes are part of the human experience, and redemption often lies in the willingness to own those mistakes. And as Hogan speaks, there is a sense that he is finally at peace with his past. He talks about the freedom that comes with confronting parts of himself he once tried to hide. When you've been in the business as long as I have, you learn that the only person you can really answer to is yourself. That's where real freedom lies, he says. It's clear that Hogan's journey has come full circle, a story of triumph, struggle, and ultimately, self-acceptance. For his fans, these revelations serve as a powerful reminder of the resilience that defines him, not only as a wrestler, but as a man who has walked through the fire. As Hogan reminisces about his storied career, he acknowledges the road wasn't always smooth. It was paved with hard knocks, personal struggles, and relentless effort. His early days were filled with long matches in dimly lit arenas, far removed from the roaring stadiums that would later become his stage. In those humble beginnings, he developed his larger-than-life persona, a character that would soon captivate the world. As he rose to fame, Hogan encountered a new set of challenges. The industry was competitive, cutthroat, and demanded constant reinvention.
Vince McMahon. A lot of stories have come out with Vince McMahon, right?
This guy.
A lot of stories have come out with Vince McMahon. Did he do it? Did he not do it? You know, the word that I disagree that they're using with Vince is what? Human trafficking.
Yeah.
We've heard this
trafficking.
one before.
Yeah.
But the key word is human trafficking.
Yep.
Human trafficking is one thing, okay? That's not where you're actually trafficking people, making money. It's a business model, all of that you're doing, that Epstein and some people who are been accused of in politics that have been involved in on that island, that the report is going to be coming out with more names and Whitney Webb and those types of things. Well, she wrote a couple books on it. This is a bit of an older interview with Vince McMahon. Somebody sent me. I think it's worth watching. Go ahead and play this, Rob.
He recounts memorable feuds that not only thrilled audiences, but also cemented his place in wrestling history. Every rivalry pushed me to be better, he says. Reflecting on his accomplishments, Hogan speaks of the values wrestling instilled in him: humility, discipline, and gratitude. He cherishes friendships from backstage moments, sharing laughs, struggles, and dreams, forming a camaraderie unique to wrestling. Now, standing at the edge of retirement, Hogan contemplates the future with peace, knowing he gave every ounce of spirit to the sport he loves. His legacy, he believes, isn't just in his accomplishments, but in the inspiration he has offered to countless young wrestlers. If my journey has taught anyone to chase their dreams, then I've done my job, he says humbly. In his final reflections, Hogan speaks directly to his fans, expressing deep gratitude for their unwavering support. For Hogan, wrestling wasn't just about fame or fortune, it was about connecting with people, inspiring them, and showing the power of resilience. As Hogan steps out of the spotlight, he leaves behind a monumental impact on wrestling, a legacy that will inspire generations. His story is a testament to what can be achieved with grit, passion, and an unbreakable spirit, a journey that started with a dream and ended with a legend. The partnership between Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon in the 1980s was transformative for the wrestling world, taking it from a niche entertainment category to a mainstream spectacle that captivated audiences worldwide. This alliance was revolutionary not only for WWE but for sports entertainment as a whole. It all started with McMahon's ambitious vision of making wrestling a global phenomenon. In the early 1980s, Vince McMahon wanted to expand WWE then WWF beyond the traditional wrestling audience, aiming to—
Back in 2021, David Bixban reported that the FBI had a videotape showing Mel Phillips engaging in the abuse and misconduct he was accused of by one or more WWF ring boys. Bix and Span wrote in 2021 that now in 2021, newly unredacted FBI memos from the investigation into what's now WWE give further insight into how badly the feds bungled this case. In an echo of the recent Inspector General report on the FBI's mishandling of the crimes of the USA Gymnastics physician serial child molester Dr. Larry Nassar, the Bureau did not seem to take the allegations against ring announcer/ring crew chief Mel Phillips very seriously. Specifically, not only did the FBI admit that they were seeking Phillips' cooperation against McMahon, but they also disregarded a videotape that showed Phillips, who died in 2012, doing exactly what multiple victims accused him of. The gist of the story is that the FBI appeared to believe it could use any charges against Phillips caught on videotape as it means to get Phillips to testify against McMahon during the US government steroid distribution criminal case against McMahon in the 90s. That never happened, and apparently the videotape was ignored, arguably along with the allegations against Phillips. The journalist BJ Bethel tweeted about Bixenspan's 2021 story saying, in 2021, David Bixenspan wrote the FBI knew of the existence of a videotape showing former WWF ring announcer Mel Phillips assaulting a ring boy. The existence of the tape was first reported in the New York Observer front page article in September 1993. Presumably the FBI still has a videotape, which could be used by
blend wrestling with Hollywood glitz and glamour. He saw Hogan as the perfect face for this new era. With his imposing physique, charisma, and larger-than-life personality, Hogan became the hero McMahon needed to break into the mainstream. This era, known as the Rock and Wrestling Connection, began with McMahon leveraging the growing popularity of MTV to bring wrestling closer to pop culture. McMahon partnered with celebrities like Cyndi Lauper and Mr. T, creating crossovers that attracted fans who might not have been interested in wrestling otherwise. WrestleMania in 1985 was the culmination of this effort, a huge risk for McMahon, but an even bigger success. Hogan headlined the event, teaming with Mr. T against Rowdy Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. The event's success brought mainstream attention and laid the foundation for WrestleMania as the Super Bowl of wrestling. Hogan became more than just the top wrestler. He was the embodiment of McMahon's vision. With catchphrases like "Say your prayers," "Take your vitamins," Hogan became an American icon and household name. McMahon positioned Hogan in storylines that emphasized patriotism and good versus evil, which resonated deeply with audiences during the Cold War era. Hogan's battles with villains like Iron Sheik and Andre the Giant cemented his heroic image. Together, Hogan and McMahon brought wrestling to primetime television. They expanded WWE's reach with action figures, video games, and even a Saturday morning cartoon, turning Hogan into a media icon. McMahon saw Hogan as his leading man, similar to a Hollywood star, and pushed him as the face of the brand. This helped McMahon create a new genre of sports entertainment. Hogan's image was everywhere, making him WWE's primary ticket seller, filling arenas across the country. McMahon's support kept Hogan in prime storylines and championship reigns. Though their relationship had tensions, Hogan's star power gave him leverage. Their mutual need kept the partnership strong throughout the 80s. Hogan and McMahon's collaboration proved that wrestling could be more than a regional spectacle, it could be a cultural phenomenon. They inspired the concept of sports entertainment, which is still WWE's identity today, establishing a template where wrestlers became larger-than-life personalities. Despite later controversies, the legacy of their early partnership is undeniable. WrestleMania remains a global event, and the Hulkamania era set a precedent for future stars. Stars like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and John Cena all followed the path set by Hogan and McMahon's groundbreaking alliance. This partnership, built on Hogan's charisma and McMahon's visionary approach, didn't just elevate WWE, it shaped an industry and made wrestling an essential part of American pop culture.